Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Alliday Mobile Media and GMO Tuesday. We have a very special treat today. This is Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds. And if I'm not mistaken, you're out of Texas, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I am. We're in East Texas.
So you probably have a pretty decent growing season.
I have a very great growing season here.
I've been in the GMO industry for quite a while. I've been covering it, did radio and all kinds of stuff. You specialize in a specific type of seed that are called
Yes,
heirlooms. Can you tell the audience a little different about the difference between the various types of seeds like yours, the hybrids, GMO seeds and stuff like that? And why do people want to choose heirloom seeds over the others?
sure. So we'll start with heirloom seeds. We currently offer over 850 varieties. There are even more than that. An heirloom seed can be classified as a specific variety that can be traced anywhere from 50 years to over 100 years. Now, some of our varieties can be traced much further. We're talking 400, 900, 1500 years, and
Wow.
sometimes more. It just depends on the documentation, really, on how long it's been documented that this specific variety has been growing.
And you kind of you promote seed to harvest versus buying plants. I mean, obviously you sell seeds, but can you tell us about the advantages of growing from seed to harvest versus buying a plant and harvesting?
Sure. And actually, this is the perfect time because we have what people are laughingly calling jalapeno gate right now. Uh, and I'll explain that in just a second. Now, the benefits of growing from seed is you know what you're going to get. You know how it's grown from seed to harvest. You know that it is going to be more adapted to your area if it's grown from seed versus buying it from the store that maybe was grown in another state. And then you bring it home and maybe it's been cared for a little more meticulously in a greenhouse or something. And then I'm in East Texas. I'm inside today. I like doing interviews outside, but it was over 100 degrees outside yesterday.
Wow.
So I know that the varieties that I've grown from seed and started here in my area, they're going to be more adapted to my area. Now, to get to the jalapeno gate, there is a hundreds of gardeners this year that have purchased what was labeled and what they thought was jalapenos from, I'll just say, big box stores. These weren't
Okay.
specifically mom and pop nurseries, but they were the big commercial places that you could buy plants. And hundreds of gardeners are complaining because those peppers that are growing, they're not jalapenos. They're a type of yellow pepper. And from what I understand, they're not hot like a jalapeno. So they've spent all this time growing this plant and it's not what they wanted to grow in the first place.
While we're on peppers, let me ask you this. I love peppers. I actually designed an organic farm in Silver Springs, Nevada that specialized in peppers, the hottest peppers on the planet. How many
I love
varieties of
it.
peppers do you have?
I think I have,
Oh, wow, we froze up again.
can you
You're yeah, you're kind of going in and out. Maybe this is a good time to take a break and hear a word from one of our sponsors, and I'll reset this up.
okay, and I just took myself off of Wi-Fi. Maybe that'll work.
Okay. Okay, and we're back, folks. I think hopefully we have the technical difficult. Technology is a wonderful thing when it works. We were
Yes.
talking about peppers. How many different varieties of peppers do you have?
I'm pretty sure I have over 60 varieties, if not 70 varieties of heirloom peppers available on my website.
Any chance you have Mayan loves?
No, that is not one I carry. I'll have to look into it now.
How about Zimbabwe bird?
No, I have piquino, which is
Okay.
not the same, but it's like a bird pepper, but not the same.
Yeah, they're difficult to grow in my area because they require such a hot soil temperature to germinate.
Yes.
I'm in a 7A growing zone, and we'll get to that in a bit here. Um, you have, I got something from you this morning about eggplants. Uh, you do a seed giveaway thing every month, if I'm not mistaken.
I do. I do. So because we have so many different customers in all different areas and all different climates, like you said, you're 7A, I'm 8, but our growing season is still very different. I do a seed giveaway every month. Sometimes it's the beginning of the month, but most of the time it's the middle of the month. I just finished up a seed giveaway last month or this month for June, and it was all herb seeds and then a book about growing herbs from seed, harvest, and then using those herbs. So it was a kind of a fun giveaway this month.
What many people don't know, every herb on the planet has two purposes. They have a culinary property and a medicinal property. And that was one of the things that we specialized in at Alladay Organic Farms many years ago. We did herbs and chilies for the medicinal
Okay.
properties that were involved in both. Let's talk a little bit about. I watched one of your videos this morning. It was really good. Growing on a dime, I believe. You have a series of videos on how to grow, and one of the things that we specialized in many years ago was limited space growing, and you touch on that in your video
Yes.
series.
Yeah, so that was a growing on a budget series, growing on a dime, and I wanted to share with people how to grow without having to spend too much money or go out and buy expensive things, especially when resources are limited. So I have an article. I tried to do a video and a print article so that people can read the information and watch the video depending on what they prefer. So I've got creating a bucket garden. I've got different types of manures that you could use. I have one about different composting options. I've got quite a few videos about that. You can compost in your kitchen, like you can start your compost
Yeah.
before you have an outdoor option. More recently, not necessarily part of that video, but part of building healthy soil was also making leaf mold and discussing the benefits of adding organic matter to your soil.
Um, you're more along the organic line than you are. You don't use chemicals at all, do you?
I don't. And I have to clarify that because there's a lot of people that say, organic is pesticide free, but it's not necessarily. It's organic pesticide approved. So what we do here is we try to grow what I call beyond organic standards. So there are some things that I use that are organic, but I don't use any type of even organic approved herbicides and things like that, or synthetic fertilizers, which aren't necessarily approved in organic standards either. But we try to grow with nature. So we use companion planting, we use trap crops, we use crop
Talk about that for
rotation.
just a minute. Companion planting.
So there's that's a fun one because there is a growing amount of scientific evidence now that we didn't have decades ago when people have been using companion planting, and people say, oh, it's just folklore and there's no scientific fact behind it. But people have been using organic practices, and it wasn't before it was labeled organic. So there's a lot of what some people would consider myth, and some people would say, well, I've been using it for decades and it works fantastic for me. So things like using onions around certain crops to deter pests, or garlic to deter gophers around your fruit trees, marigolds and nasturtiums to attract bugs away from your garden. Or trap cropping is also companion planting, and that's where we use blue Hubbard squash, and you plant that on the outside of your garden, and it is supposed to attract the bad bugs for squash to that plant. And then what you do is, if you actually do get a harvest from that crop, yes, you can pull it up, but oftentimes you pull that plant up and you burn it or you throw it in the trash because it has attracted the bad bugs to that crop, and then you can actually have a healthy harvest of the squash that you really wanted to harvest.
Do you use various insects as an insect control, like your praying mantis?
Yes.
I did an article years ago on earwigs, and everybody gets this ooh thing going, but earwigs really are a very good insect for composting, and they're a very good sign to let you know you have aphids, because they
Yes.
and I made the comparison years ago. Earwigs and aphids are like me and a Snickers bar. It's like me and fudge. But the biggest thing, because I get into various different types of agriculture programs, but rose gardens are the big ones for aphids. And
Yes.
if you see earwigs on your rose plants, chances are you have aphids, because that's why they're
And
there.
ants are another one, because
Yes.
ants farm aphids. They like the honeydew syrup, basically, that
Yeah.
the aphids create. And so when you see that you have ants on your plants, oftentimes I tell my customers, look under your leaves, look around, and chances are you've got some aphids. So we actually, January is Plant for Pollinators Month at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. So I promote pollinators, and it sounds kind of silly to do it in January, but January is oftentimes when people are planning their garden.
Yeah.
So if you plan with pollinators in mind, and you use practices that are beneficial to pollinators, it can increase crop production. So harvesting, when you do have aphids and you're struggling to harvest, if you can add plants that attract ladybugs that will eat the aphids, or like you said, you've got earwigs for your compost. So attracting certain beneficials will help you with the not so great bugs when you're trying to harvest a healthy garden.
Your location, do you have lizards?
Lots.
Because I actually incorporated, I called it the lizard condo. I would build these huge planters and use rock formations where the lizards could live. And between them and ducks and praying mantis, I never had an insect problem.
Yeah.
Lizards are one of the greatest insect control on any garden area that I've ever done. I was fascinated at how they worked. And this area where I was, we had, I think it was, I had 5 different types of lizards, and they all had their own little area. It was really kind of unique. They're kind of little territorial critters, but
Right.
they're a very good insect control. Do you guys like
Yeah.
have horny toads and the bluebellies and all that there?
So I haven't seen all of the insects and all of the different lizards that we have here. We've got lots of toads here. I've actually my uncle is very into amphibians. So every time I see something, I take a picture of it and send it to him, and he gives me the update on what it is. So we've only been in East Texas now for 2 years. So I'm still learning some of what we have available to us here, and allowing more of the property to go wild compared to what it was when we moved here 2 years ago. And I have seen so much more life in the garden this year than even last year.
East Texas, you have a little more water than other places in Texas, don't you?
Yes, it is amazing. We have a lot more rainfall here. I believe our average water rainfall is 40 to 46 inches a year. And we have little bodies of water all over the place here and lakes.
I'm at 7,000 feet elevation. I'm at South Lake Tahoe in California, on the California side. And it's just I don't know how you guys were last year, but our water levels right now are just off the charts. We had a real heavy winter, which equates to a very good growing season for the
Yes, it
farmers.
was. We actually had a very rough year last year and not enough rain. And this year we're finally getting a good amount of rain. So the gardens are thriving right now.
Awesome, awesome. You know what? Let's take a break and hear from another one of our sponsors and come back and talk about your website.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to talk to you about one of the most unique farmers markets on the planet. LakeTahoeMarkets.com brings the market to you. This is one of the only farmers markets that I have ever seen. They have what they call market bags. They contain certified USDA organic fruits and vegetables that are free of fertilizers, pesticides, and of course, genetically modified organisms. In addition, the freshest produce available to the Lake Tahoe Basin. You can add farm fresh eggs, beef jerky, local honey, organic spices, locally made barbecue sauce, empanadas, good googly wooglies, and non-toxic skincare products, canned nuts, so much more. You can order individual bags each week. Sign up for a subscription and get free delivery. Tell me a farmer's market. That's a deal you can't beat. Tahoe Basin's online farmers market, free delivery to the North Shore on Monday, South Shore on Tuesday. Lake Tahoe Markets bring the market to you. www.laketahoemarkets.com. That's www.laketahoemarkets.com. And we're back. Your website and social media footprint is pretty extensive. You have a YouTube station.
I do.
You're also on Facebook.
Yep.
And let me see here. Are you on Twitter?
Yes, I'm on Twitter, but I'm not as active. I'm on Instagram, and I try to share daily. It's hard to manage all of the different social medias. It's just me doing all of the website and
You
all
know,
of the
that
social.
was a question I was going to ask you because I see you doing these videos and it's just you. It's like I'm a one-man show myself.
Yeah,
But I mean, I do have research people that send information to me all the time. Um, but you do everything yourself?
I do. Yeah, sometimes I have my husband Doc. Does some of the videos for me. But most of it is just me doing all the videos and all the social media. So when you see stuff on my website, and when I post a video, I'm always saying, if you've got a question, send me an email, and I answer all the emails, unless it's a spam email where you're trying to say like, hey, you can get $30 million. I will answer your question, whether you think it's a silly question or not. I will actually answer emails.
And you have you referenced 850 seeds you
Yes, sir.
carry
Yes,
on your.
sir. So we briefly touched in the beginning about what heirloom seeds are, and I do get requests often for different types of seeds. And every now and then I get someone that says, "Do you have this variety of seeds?" And I have to explain that no, it's a hybrid, and we don't sell hybrids. And a hybrid seed is one that has been mixed two different types of, say, peppers, and you cross them and you come up with your own type of pepper. And you'll see that on some websites where it'll say F1, F2, and
Yeah.
those are hybrid seeds. And I don't bash hybrid seeds, but they aren't necessarily stable long term. They're not sustainable, because I teach people not just to grow from seed, but to save your seeds. Yes, I sell seeds, but I also want to teach people the sustainability of growing your own food, saving your seeds, and being able to use those and share those for the future. And you can't
Touch on
necessarily.
growing your own food for a second. Why, especially in the current environment, and I don't want to get into a political issue, but You
Not a
can't
problem.
get around it sometimes.
Yeah.
Why is it important, especially with what's going on with the food supply right now, to grow your own food?
I have been actively involved in teaching people and educating myself really about how our food is grown for over a decade. I started Mary's Heirloom Seeds in 2011, and I had already gotten into the education portion of how is my food grown, what is this, and what type of processes is it going through before it reaches my plate. I have been documenting the rising cost of food since 2014, and it's skyrocketing, and people don't
It's
realize it.
unbelievable, yeah.
It's when you're just buying regular everyday stuff, you don't maybe not necessarily realize, but when you start to document it and you say, well, the national average on this is 3%, it goes up every year. Well, if 2 years later the national average is now 10% instead of 3%, you're going, whoa, this is not good. And when you have a limited budget for food, uh, it really does become an issue. So yes, my tomatoes might have cost me slightly more than buying it in the grocery store if I was just getting started with the garden. But that's partly why I did the growing on a budget series, because I show you how to grow without having to spend that exorbitant amount of money to
Mhm.
have these fancy raised beds or fancy containers. And I know that I look at this, I don't know, here, I got a Cherokee purple tomato here. I know that this probably 1 pound tomato, I know exactly how that was grown. I know that there was no uh, synthetic anything used on it. I know that there's no what do they call it now? Biosolids. Uh,
Yeah.
I know, like it's really nice to have healthy food that actually tastes good. So money aside, that tomato tastes amazing. And the stuff from the grocery store, I don't know about you, but I can't even eat it anymore.
Some of the stuff is real difficult for me too. Um, I want to touch on something just a minute here because you referenced a couple times now synthetic fertilizers.
Right.
Um, what many people don't know about synthetic fertilizers, if you really dig into those ingredients that are in a synthetic fertilizer and you start researching them and go down the rabbit hole, as they say,
Right.
many of them are neurotoxins
Yes.
and they're really not good for your health. If you're growing flower, and I make this reference all the time, Miracle Grow is a great product if you're going to have a flower garden. Does a nice job and you'll get great flowers. But if you're going to put that on something you're going to eat, you're going to have problems neurologically down the road because everything in Miracle Grow is a neurotoxin. And many people don't understand that aspect of what you refer to as a synthetic fertilizer.
Right.
Um, you referenced manures a little while ago. Do you guys have bats there?
I'm sure we do. I haven't utilized bats here on our property yet. It's definitely something that I would like, because if you can add bats to your area, you can reduce your mosquito population. So that would be really nice for me.
Yes, not not only that, but their poop is really good for growing.
Yes.
It there was this one place that it was a bridge that had and we used to go get, they call it bat guano, but we used to go get their waste all the time to
Yeah.
use. Uh, you have a blog also, is that correct?
Yeah. The blog is attached to my website, which is marysheirloomseeds.com. And every time I post to the blog, it's something like a recipe from that you can use stuff from your garden up. That's where I post my giveaways, my seed sales, and then all of my tutorials are on the blog.
Okay. Uh, uh, and when you say you have seeds, you have grains, fruits, herbs, flowers, vegetables. You have a very broad spectrum of, I guess a variety is probably a better word when it comes to seeds.
Yes, I don't just I don't just work with backyard gardeners where you have a little small plot. I also work with homesteaders and market gardeners, which would be someone that maybe would be growing to sell to the market. And then recently, homesteaders who are looking to grow for their animals because just like human feed is going up, animal feed is going up as well.
Yeah.
So some of those grains or the sprouting seeds are great to grow for your animals as well. We recently added chickens again to our homestead. So I have entire areas of the garden just to feed the chickens, which really helps with our feed bill.
Yeah. Um, Chickens. Do you have other animals on your operation there or
Not
just
at
chickens?
not at this time, just chickens.
When you've referenced different types of farming, and one of the things you brought up was bucket farming. Years ago, I did a series on potatoes,
Okay.
and for many people that don't know, if you get 5 gallon buckets, and they're everywhere now, you can find
Yeah.
5 gallon buckets everywhere. But if you take 5 gallon buckets and you put a couple potato eyes in there, most people think that when the potatoes start sprouting in the bag that they're no good and they throw them away. If you just take those and cut them, what I did was a series on potatoes. If you start them every week, and for me, it was enough potatoes for a week or so. But if you wanted fresh potatoes every week that you grow, I did this on a 90-day rotation, and it was a 12-week rotation. Every week I would do another bucket of potatoes, and at the end of 90 days you can dump them out and you have little new potatoes for stew or whatever you want. For me, those potatoes would last a week.
Yeah.
That I'm by myself, but for a family it would be like for a meal, maybe a couple meals. What other types of stuff you do with the buckets?
Oh, there's just about everything you can grow in a bucket. I've got a whole list of varieties that you can grow in a bucket. You mentioned the email I sent out today was about Petch Siam eggplant. It's a very
Yes.
tall, very short, fast maturing, and round eggplant. So it's perfect for containers. If you live in an area where you can't dig up your garden, or you've got a patio, or you live where you only have a balcony, a bucket garden is fantastic. I also have taught this for schools. I have a school garden donation program where I donate hundreds of seeds to schools around the U.S. And oftentimes schools don't have the extra funds to start a garden. So the bucket garden is a fantastic option. And the kids can either each have their own bucket or something like that. But you can pretty much grow a bush cucumber, any bush bean. Okra is great for gardens, for bucket gardens.
I do know certain chilies. Do you have Caribbean chilies?
I have a Caribbean red habanero, I believe. What type of are you looking for?
Well,
Another one, or the yellow
the
Scotch bonnet.
boy, those are good too.
That's my favorite.
The yeah, my favorite is the Hatch out of New
Okay.
Mexico,
Yes.
the Mayan Love, and the Zimbabwe Bird.
Okay.
Those are my three favorites. I also like the Peruvian White Bullet.
Okay.
They um, they almost have a gasoline smell. They're pretty wicked. If you can't if you when I say I grew the hottest chilies on the planet, the article I wrote, if you can't handle the heat, get out of my kitchen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have ghost peppers in my refrigerator right now.
Okay.
So and I eat garlic, onions, peppers every day. Somehow I incorporate that into my food for health reasons. But I don't know if you're familiar with those three peppers I referenced: the Hatch, the Mayan Love, and the Zimbabwe Bird.
I'm familiar with the hatch for sure.
So you know the flavor, that kind of smoky, earthy flavor.
Yep, exactly.
your Zimbabwe birds are 2.5 times hotter than a habanero,
Okay.
and they have that same type of flavor.
Okay.
And your Mayan love also have the same type of flavor, but they're about 4 times hotter
Oh,
than
wow.
a habanero. Your Peruvian white bullets, the same. They're in the habanero family.
Okay.
Um, do you have? Obviously, you have a seed bank. You save your own seeds, or do you allow other people to donate to a seed bank or anything like that?
I don't necessarily take donations, but I do save seeds and I have traded seeds with certain people. So for example, the yellow Scotch bonnet was from a friend of mine in New Jersey. He is such a pepper person. And he sent me a box of yellow Scotch bonnets, and I did a video of trying to eat it. And at first, I was such a sissy. I took a little teeny piece, and I was like, "Oh, that's not so bad." And then I ate some more. But what I like about the yellow Scotch bonnet it doesn't have that like burn your face off flavor. It has a little bit of a citrusy, like
Yes.
calming almost. So yes, it's
Yeah.
hot, but it also has a lot of flavor to it. And then I actually ferment that pepper to put in salsa, and the flavor is just it just takes it to another level.
I do what I call my grandfather was the foreman of the Heinz Pickle Factory in Sunnyvale, California years ago, and he taught me some tricks on doing pickles. I love pickles, and I do what I call triple pucker peppered pickles. And they're if you like pickles, and you- I saw something on your thing about. I mean, you have some very unique seeds, but one of the cucumbers you had were they're like little itty bitty ones, and I can't remember what the name of them was.
A
And you also
cucamelon.
have what's that?
A cucamelon.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And they're great for pickling. I don't know if people know that or not.
They are.
But
They really are.
the other thing I saw on your website was I think they were watermelon radishes.
Yes. Oh, those are fantastic.
Uh, um, what I guess the point I'm trying to make is you have some very unique seeds, and for those people who have never been to your website, they really need to do themselves a favor and go see what you have. Um,
Some of
in
the
addition, in addition to the videos and your blog, you also do supplies.
I do, yeah. I do a lot of kits. There's a couple of the seed combo packs that are a little more unique. So one is called the Ancient Seeds Collection, but then you can also get a starter kit. So you can get the little seed starter pods and there's a lot of different things. Plant markers and
If I remember right, didn't you just do a basil promo?
I did. So we have a
That's my
Mary's
favorite
basil
herb right there. That and cilantro.
Mary's Basil Seed Collection. And it's seven, I think seven different varieties of basil. And then I also offered just recently, we always offer a free seed pack with our orders. So every now and then I'll actually announce what the free seed is. Sometimes it's just whatever free seed I feel like giving away that month. But it was a free basil seed, and I make a purple basil lemonade, which actually turns it
Oh wow,
naturally
that
pink.
sounds good.
It's delicious. When it's hot
Is that
outside,
now? Is that done with the red Reuben or a different basil?
dark purple opal basil. It looks
Okay.
similar to the Reuben, and it has a little bit of an anisey, cinnamony flavor.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
you add a squeeze of lemon and a bunch of pieces of basil, or even like these you can actually top your basil to where these are just the bolted flowers, and instead of throwing them away or throwing them into your compost, stuff it in a jar and pour hot water over it, and now you've got basil lemonade.
You know what many people don't know? I don't have a problem using the flowers when I cook. And especially with basil or even oregano. I don't know if you've ever used oregano flower,
Yes.
but they there's a bigger burst of flavor from the flowers than there is the herb itself. Um, I'm not sure if I don't know what else to ask anymore. I think you've covered just about everything. But you were saying you've been at this about 11 years now?
Yes, I'll maybe if you don't mind, I'll share a couple of my favorite varieties that are unique as well. So
Sure.
I started Mary's Heirloom Seeds in 2011. I have grown in zone 10, zone 9, and now zone 8. So I have a fairly good experience on the different regions. So from South Florida to East Texas, you have a huge difference in how you grow. And then the timing that you grow. So I've got a comprehensive planting guide that explains when to grow and how to grow depending on what region you're in. And I think, hands down, my absolute favorite bean is the jade bush bean. So it doesn't matter what region you're in, it is fantastic for heat. It is fantastic for cooler areas. It grows a really good, solid green bean. It may not be fancy, but it's still a really good bean to grow. And then I've got some actually here I brought with me is the
Those are great. I love them.
Benning's green tint scallop squash. This is probably one of the most versatile squash that I grow in my garden because you can bake it, you can fry it, you can saute it, you can stuff it. There's so
Yeah.
many things you can do with it.
The thing I like about that particular variety is there's a lot of meat in
Yes.
it versus like a zucchini that is real seedy sometimes. Uh, uh, my favorite squashes are winter squashes. I love spaghetti squash, your Hubbard squash, the butternuts and stuff like that. Uh, and I think I like them so much is because they're easy to store.
Yes.
They're very easy to store. Um, on you mentioned recipes. We also run recipes on our website that are mine. Um, are they your recipes or do you have people
Nope.
contribute to that?
They're all my recipes.
Well, there you go, folks. Um, tell everybody how they get a hold of you.
Okay, so my website is marysheirloomseeds.com. You can, if you have a question, you can send an email, and my email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. If you don't do social media, you can always give us a call. The phone number is on the website.
Okay.
Uh, I
And we'll
prefer
we'll put all this information in the description here today too. So
Thank you. I prefer an email because I'm not always in the seed shop. Sometimes I'm out in the garden. Sometimes I'm in the kitchen making a recipe for the website. So it's much easier if you send an email. And then, of course, we mentioned all the social medias that I'm on. You can reach me there as well.
okay, very good. I appreciate your time today, and I learned a lot.
Thank you.
I I'm sure we'll see you around the social media circles.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. And I'm sure I say this for both of us. Let's have a great day, folks. Let's all be safe out there.